Chapter 18. Following sheltered back roads that led them away from the river, Mike and Jim made their way northwest. With a small amount of cash that was between them, they bought meals from the farm wives and were granted permission to sleep in haylofts. Because they were too young to be soldiers, no one asked if they were sympathetic to the North or the South, and having left Jury and his company behind them, the boys felt freed from an enormous burden. On the third night of their journey, a friendly farmer, his wife Otto and Maud Neiman, shared a late supper with Mike and Jim in their kitchen. "You have family?" Miss Neiman asked kindly. "Yes," Mike answered. "Are they near or are you far from home?" "Some are in Kansas, some in and around St. Joe," Mike said politely. "Good," Mrs. Neiman said. "What about you, Jim? You haven't anyone at all?" "I'm an orphan," Jim told her. "Dear boy," Mrs. Neiman murmured and ladled more stew onto Jim's nearly empty plate. Mike was just mopping up the rich stew broth with a chunk of bread when the kitchen door opened and a husky young man entered. "Stanley," Mrs. Neiman said, and jumped up to hug him. "We thought you wouldn't be able to take care of your business soon," Mr. Neiman told him. "We weren't expecting you back from Lexington till Friday." "Lexington?" Mike glanced at Jim with alarm. "Business went well. I finished early," Stanley answered. He looked at Mike's hair and took a long, slow look at both Mike and Jim. "Michael Kelly, Jim Riley," Mr. Neiman said. "I'd like you to meet our son, Stanley Neiman." "Weren't you recently in Lexington?" Stanley asked Mike. What Stanley heard, he knows something. From the expression on Jim's face, Mike could tell Jim felt the same concern. "Lexington? That's quite a ways from here," Mike faked a yawn. "If you don't mind, Mr. Neiman, we're tired and we'd like to turn in. You said we could sleep in your hayloft?" "Welcome to it," Mr. Neiman assured him. "We'll help you with the dishes first," Mike offered, but Mrs. Neiman laughed and glanced at her son with loving eyes. "9," she said. "We haven't seen Stanley for 2 weeks. We'll have much to talk about. But you boys come in for breakfast before you leave in the morning. Some biscuit and eggs will give you a good start to the day." Mike and Jim thanked the Neimans, picked up their knapsacks and bedrolls, and went through the kitchen door. The moment they were outside, Mike held a finger to his lips and crept out from the kitchen window. "You're harboring thieves," Stanley was saying. "The one with red hair. He not only stole a fine pocket watch from a Confederate soldier, he physically attacked him, broke his leg." Jim sucked in his breath and shot Mike a glance. "How could he do that? He's just a boy," Mrs. Neiman complained. "He's a Union soldier. Escaped when he was captured." "No, he's not old enough to be a soldier. I can't believe that story." "Ma," Stanley persisted, "I heard it from the Confederate soldier himself. He's offering a reward, and I'm going to claim it." "Stanley," Mr. Neiman demanded, "what are you doing with my rifle?" "I'm going after that pair," Stanley answered. "I'll tie him up, take him back to Lexington. I told you, Pa, I plan on collecting that reward." "Listen to me, Stanley," Mr. Neiman began, but Mike and Jim didn't wait to hear the rest. Swinging their knapsacks and bedrolls up on their backs, they ran toward the road that led into the woods. A shot whizzed by Mike's ear, but in the burst of speed, yelling over his shoulder, "Hurry, Mike, faster!" Another shot. A shell slammed into the dust near Mike's feet, and he ran with all his strength, wincing at the sharp pain in his leg. "Stanley, stop!" Mike heard Mrs. Neiman scream. Then, "Ma, leave me alone!" Mike and Jim cut to the shelter of the woods, running hobbling into a stop till they were nearly a mile north of Neiman's farm. Mike, with his chest heaved as he tried to catch his breath, threw himself down on the ground. Jim flopped beside him. "Poor old Jerry broke his leg," Jim said, and Mike could hear the satisfaction in his words. "Jerry may want the watch. Looks like he wants you even more." Mike remembered the aftermath of Wilson's Creek, when Jerry told Corey to shoot him. He shuddered. "We reach St. Joe, we'll be safe," he told Jim. Jim stood up and stretched. "Then let's get started," he said. "No sleep for us tonight. We better keep traveling." For 2 days they kept to the road, ready to leap into ditches or cornfields or woods at the first sign of horses' hooves. At last, just before noon, they straggled into the town of St. Joseph. Mike was never so glad to see familiar bustles. Shoppers, trappers, families gathering supplies to trek west, businessmen in high-starched collars and top hats, riverboat men, a few children who sometimes darted dangerously close to the horses and lumbering wagon wheels. The town was as much as it had been when Mike arrived at the orphan train, and his heart began to ache as the memories rose like ghosts that taunted him. But at least Ma lived here now, and his friends, Catherine Banks and Andrew McNair. He smiled at the sight of Catherine's store. "Wake up, Mike," Jim said. "Tell me where we're headed now. Your Ma's house? With that reward on your head, it's better that not many people know we're here." More than anything, he could think of Mike wanting to see his mother, but he shook his head. "First, I'll take Billy Whitley's pocket watch to his wife Aggie. Then I can relax." He scratched his chest and smiled. "And then I'll have what I've longed for, a hot bath." At that moment, the door to Catherine Banks' store opened, and Catherine stepped onto the sidewalk with a customer. "Mrs. Banks!" Mike shouted. She turned, shading her eyes against the sun, and smiled as she recognized him. "Mike Kelly!" Mike hurried to join her and introduced Jim. "Have you seen your mother yet?" Catherine asked. "I know she's expecting you." "Not yet," Mike said. Catherine caught hold of the boy who came scampering past. "Johnny," she said, "run and fetch Mrs. Noreen Murphy. Tell her Mike's here. There'll be a peppermint stick in for you when you get back." "And Mrs. Billy Whitley," Mike told him, pressing one of the few remaining coins in the boy's hand. "She's staying with relations on Chester Street. You know her? I'm carrying a parcel to her from her husband." "Yeah, I know Mrs. Whitley," Catherine said, and she gave Johnny directions to the house. The boy took off in a hurry, and Catherine turned to Mike. "We've heard so much about you, Mike. Tell me." But Catherine was elbowed aside by a scowling banker, Mr. Crandon, who was even plumper and pastier than Mike Romero. remembered him. "Somebody call the sheriff," Mr. Crandon inspired. "Mike Kelly should be under arrest." Before Mike could speak, Stanley Neiman stepped around from behind Mr. Crandon. "We don't need a sheriff. He's my prisoner." Terrified, Mike stammered, "I'm nobody's prisoner. I haven't done anything wrong." "You're a thief," Mr. Crandon shouted. "Stole a Confederate soldier's watch." A crowd began to gather, and Mike could hear mutterings. "What'd he say about the Confederates?" "My son's with Price's Missouri State Guards," said a man in the crowd. "That boy's done something to a Confederate soldier," said another. "Then he ought to be in jail." Mr. Crandon suddenly reached out and snatched Mike's knapsack, ripping it from his shoulders. "We'll prove you're lying," he said to Mike. "If you stole that watch, you'll be in here." To Mike's horror, Mr. Crandon pulled out Billy Whitley's watch from its envelope, the paper with it scattering on the ground. "Here, what's this? A second watch?" Mr. Crandon cried and came up with Todd's watch. "I can explain," Mike yelled out. As Mr. Crandon upended Mike's knapsack, his Union Army uniform dropped at his feet. "Look at that uniform. He's a Union spy," someone shouted. Stanley reached for the watches, but Mr. Crandon, who looked as if he were trying to appraise their value, quickly moved them out of his reach. The man who said his son was with Price's Missouri Guards spoke up. "We know how the Army handles spies. They're hung on the spot." "Especially Union spies," someone chimed in and grabbed Mike's arm from behind. "No," Catherine shouted. Mike saw his mother trying desperately to elbow her way through the rapidly growing crowd. Stanley made another swipe at the watches, but Mr. Crandon held them high. "I'll take care of the watches," he said. "Not mine, you won't." A plump woman, her bonnet askew, stepped up from the edge of the horse trough and clung to a lamppost for balance. "Oh, you be quiet," she shouted at the crowd. "I have something to say." The angry people on the street turned toward her in stunned silence. The woman cleared her throat calmly and adjusted her bonnet with one hand and said more calmly, "For those who haven't met me yet, my name's Aggie Whitley. My husband, Bill Whitley, is with the 2nd Kansas Infantry, where this boy, Mike Kelly, served as a drummer until he was wounded at Wilson Creek. When Mike Kelly was discharged, my husband Billy asked him to deliver this watch to me. He wrote and told me to expect Mike," he pointed, "and that gold one with the design etched on it, that's my watch." Billy spoke up. "The letters Billy sent to it are on the ground where Mr. Crandon dropped them." Mrs. Whitley drew herself up haughtily and stared down her nose at Mr. Crandon. "Then I'll thank you to pick them up and give them to me along with my watch." Mr. Crandon huffed a bit and did as she told him, and then he said triumphantly, "The other watch, though. This was taken from one of our boys fighting bravely in the South." "No, it wasn't," Mike said. The crowd began to mutter and bicker, but Mrs. Whitley, who had a fine pair of lungs, as to Mike's way of thinking, shouted them down. "You heard me out and found that Mr. Crandon was wrong. Now give the boy a chance. Listen to what he has to say." Mike tugged free at the arms that held him. He was frightened at the sight of the faces turned toward him, many of them tight with anger, but he took a deep breath and began. "The watch Mr. Crandon told him belongs to a friend of mine, Todd Blakely," he began. He told the crowd about how Todd had made Mike promise to take the watch to Emily, his sister, about lying wounded in a hollow after the battle was over, about how Corey had chided Jury and Logan for robbing the dead. "War's a horror you can't begin to believe unless you're in it, with the guns blasting around you, and the wounded men screaming in pain," Mike said. "I saw a Confederate soldier shoot a Union soldier, and then hold him in his arms while he cried, 'I shot my pa! Help me, I shot my pa!'" Mike heard gasps of horror. Nearby a woman whimpered, thrusting a handkerchief over her mouth. "And it's not just the soldiers who live the nightmares. I met a woman whose secessionist husband informs on Union sympathizers and rides at night with patrols to burn their barns and houses. People are doing evil things to each other, all because of the war." The crowd was shocked into silence. No one moved as Mike continued. "I tried to serve my country the best way I knew how, and I did until I was shot in battle. If the war goes on for the next few years, I'll enlist again, this time as a soldier, but I'm not a spy. I'll never be one." Some of the people in the crowd turned and walked away. Mr. Crandon still held Todd's watch, but he didn't resist as Catherine opened his fingers. With the watch in her hand, she said to Stanley Neiman, "Go back where you came from. You'll find no support here." Ma rushed toward Mike with a hug that nearly knocked him off his feet. "Oh, Michael, I'm so proud of you," she cried. She held Mike at arm's length, searching his face with tears trickled down into her smile. "You'll stay with me till you're well again," she said. "I'll stay just a little while, Ma," he said. "I want to spend some time with you and Peg, visit Danny, and then I need to go back to Fort Leavenworth. Louisa's expecting me, and Todd's sister Emily." For just an instant, disappointment clouded Ma's face. She covered it with a smile. "You seem so much older, Mike. You've grown." "I still have a lot of growing to do," Mike said, as she hugged him again. "You might say 3 inches and 3 years to go." "If you're talking about re-enlisting, Ma," Mike told her, "if you're going to ask me to promise I'll never go until I'm legally old enough, well, I've already made that promise to myself." As his mother wrapped him in her arms again, Mike laughed. "Let's forget about the war a while," he said, "and go find Peg." A week later, Mike rode the ferry across the river to Jim. "I'll soon be off for the mountains, and the gold, silver hiding therein," Jim said, stroking the horse he brought on his journey, a horse that was slightly sway-backed and still had teeth. "I wish you'd come with me, Mike." At the moment, Mike wished he could go too. Jim's offer was certainly tempting, but he answered, "I've got to keep my promise to Todd and the promise I made to myself." "Good luck," Jim said, and Mike counted on that wish as he traveled south to Fort Leavenworth. As Mike entered the fort, a strong hand gripped his shoulder. "We heard some of what you said, lad," Sergeant Duncan bellowed, "and we're hoping to hear the rest." Later, Mike said, pulling away. There is a time for war stories later. I need to tell my mother that I'm home again. Louisa affectionately folded Mike into her arms, tearfully scolding and praising him. No more running away, she said. Promise me, Mike. I promise, he answered. No need for that moment to tell her his plans to re-enlist when he reached 16. Mike took a deep breath and forced the inevitable. I have to see Emily Blakely. I've borrowed Todd's watch. Louisa wiped her eyes and pulled out her bonnet, tying it firmly under her chin. And Mrs. Blakely, she said. We'll call on them together. Mike promised. There's no need for you to go too, but Louisa opened the door, waiting for Mike to follow her. This will be a difficult time for you, she said, and I think it will help you to know your mother's there by your side. As Mike had guessed, Mrs. Blakely had many questions to ask about Todd. Mike couldn't hold back his own tears as Mrs. Blakely burst into sobs. I'm sorry, Mrs. Blakely, Mike murmured. Sorrier than anyone could know. I'm not blaming you for what happened, Michael, Mrs. Blakely told him, wiping away her tears. Todd always had a mind of his own. Emily broke in. He talked about going off to war before you even came here. He wanted to be like his father, the captain, Mike began, but he couldn't go on. He wanted so badly to know if Captain Blakely had survived the Battle Bull Run, but he was terrified to ask. A soggy handkerchief, Mrs. Blakely rubbed her hard out red nose. That's Major Blakely now, she said. My husband received a field promotion. If only Todd had known his father had survived the Battle of Honor. If only Todd could be with his family now. Mike fished out of his pocket and brought forth Todd's watch, placing it on Emily's hand. This meant more to Todd than anything else he ever owned, he said. And he asked me to bring it to you, Emily. Thank you, Emily whispered. Tears ran down her cheeks as she held the watch to her lips. One promise fulfilled, one to go, Mike thought. But the promise to himself would take 3 years to come about. And right now, he was just glad to be home. Jennifer sighed as Grandma closed Frances Mary's journal. I learned in history class the Civil War lasted 4 years, she said. Mike do what he planned and become a soldier. All the Kellys were involved in the war in one way or another, Grandma answered. As Mike said, the war reached everyone. It changed every life. Innocent people often suffered greatly in their attempts to help the cause in which they believed. Think how terrible it must have been for the Kellys when one of them was arrested for being a Union spy. Jeff sat bolt upright. Mike was arrested, but he said he'd never be a spy. Mike wasn't the spy, Grandma said. She stood and asked, I've got to run some errands in town. Would you like to go with me? Jennifer jumped to her feet. Grandma, she complained, I can't stand it. You've got to tell us which Kelly became a spy. I will, Grandma said, and broke into a grin, but not until tomorrow morning. I may not last till then, Jennifer moaned. You will, if you want to hear a truly unusual story, Grandma said. Tomorrow we'll read the journal again. I promise.